In a lot of ways, the moon is just like a woman, as Venus is just like the adolescence of the feminine. Similar, but certainly not the same. When we consider understanding the moon, consider the power of a woman. It is mysterious. It is something you will never be able to truly define or describe, articulate, fully understand. However, there's enough of us, there's enough to know that allows us to form an understanding with ourselves according to what the lunar expresses for us and to us. And in all, this brings together experience, which arrives at intuition and wisdom. Reading the room, reading the energy that's in the atmosphere, in the air, reading through all layers and dimensions. The moon, the astral, the ethereal, the eye. The moon picks up on every frequency. Every frequency. Now, as it relates to the woman, at the South Node, as I will explain in this discourse, it is like the woman or wife that knows you very well, and you know her very well. She knows what you like and what you dislike. She knows how you put your socks on in the morning. She knows a route that you like to take when you go to work or when you go fishing or whatever you do. She pays attention to every detail of how you do things. And when there's a pattern that's off, it stands out. And she's picking up on your intuitive patterns, not your cognitive patterns. She's not so much concerned about what you do cognitively. She's concerned about what does he do intuitively. That's his nature. What does he do intuitively? That's where his spirit, that's where his soul, his consciousness has formed an image. And that's where I come to understand who this man is. That's how I come to know his nature. Well, that's the South Node. You've done it many, many times, and it leaves an imprint in the soul, in the consciousness. Now, I go on to say that it is like the medium, the bridge between the sun and Mercury. The fine balance between the heart and the mind, intuitively. Now, it's not to be mistaken or misunderstood for instinct. The moon is not instinctual, it is intuitive. For instinct, we go to Scorpio, we go to Mars, possibly even Pluto in some cases. But really, this is Scorpio and Mars of the instinct. They are not the same. The instinct goes through the amygdala. Intuition, basal ganglion, the consciousness of prefrontal cortex and subconscious, of course, tying all of these things together. It's reading on what actions, emotions, thoughts, perceptions, conclusions, all of these things culminated. Because the moon is the one that culminates all actions, all thoughts, all feelings into one. And it crystallizes it into an intuitive wisdom. Just like your wife who walked with you all of your life. She knows how to finish your sentences before you even say it. She knows exactly what you're about to reach for. She knows exactly how long you're going to spend doing this and how long you're going to spend doing that. She knows a reaction that you're going to have to this and a reaction you're going to have to that. It's your wife. Understand. Okay? You can't shit your wife. She knows you. All right? Now, the North Node, that's more like the new woman that you're with. Okay? You're coming with the South Node, who you are, who you used to being. You just intuitively offer your reflex, bam, you do this, bam, you do that. It's just natural to you. It's just what you do. You know, you might be someone who's a people person. You know, it's nothing for you to pick up and start conversations, just get into the flow, complete strangers, and you just roll with it. But let's say this time around, your North Node calls for you to have more introspect in your life, to pull away and detach, to get to know the deeper layers of yourself. You're not used to it, okay? It's like a new woman in your life. She has to figure out your patterns and you have to figure out hers. You have to understand where to meet her and where she's to meet you. So there's vulnerability. I'm not used to this. I'm not comfortable with that, right? So it's changes that we have to make, transformations that we have to make, evolution that has to take place without changing who we are. Understand? Without changing who we are. All right? This is when the heart soul urge meets with the life path. Understand? The heart soul urge, numerology, meets with the life path, numerology. This is an edit and insert into a discourse that I've already completed in the past, and I'm re-uploading it to this new YouTube channel from a YouTube channel that I disconnected some weeks ago. So if you have not gotten a reading with me according to your North and South Node or anything else, I would definitely encourage you to set up an appointment with me so you can get into details about these things. Now, in this discourse, I'm going to go over the details of the North and South Node and what they really mean. This is just a jog through. I want you to always make the habit, okay, of first of all knowing the moon, this is a feminine disposition. It's the mature feminine disposition. And according to Ifa Yoruba African spiritual tradition, of which is one of my cultural commitments, I know this as being Yemeya, okay? Yemeya, the mother with the big breasts, the mother of the oceans, of the salty waters, okay? And already that alone explains the archetypal insights that we are to gather from the moon and lunar north and south nodes. What is the motive toward that? Security, nurturing, comfort, reassurance. Understand, right? That's what the breast does. That's what the presence of Divine Mother does. Understand, okay? Venus is like Divine Daughter. The moon is like Divine Mother. Let's understand that, okay? Venus is like the young teenager or the young 20-something-year-old, okay? She's young, she's fine, she's beautiful. She ain't trying to be tied down by boring things or stuff that's not stimulating and exciting, you know? And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but it's one of the energies that we have to experience in the earth towards our growth. However, the moon is the mature expression of that, okay? Understood as Yemeya, the mother of Orishas. This is the mother of Orishas. When the moon is paired with a planet, such as conjunctions or, aspects where there is a unification of their influences, the moon usually plays a very positive part because it lends insight, it lends wisdom, and it lends a righteous disposition about its expressions and its demands. Understand that. It also is very protective. It is sensitive. It cares about the feelings and thoughts of others. Okay? So the moon is also a softener. You will find that people who have, for example, the life path 22 or the heart soul urge number 22, this is usually, not always, but this is usually in the axis of Virgo and Pisces. you will find that the moon is in opposition to Virgo in most cases with the 22, for example, because the 22 has a very rigid nature, and that moon has to soften that rigid nature intuitively. You understand? So I just want to put these details out there so that we could appreciate the moon as our mother or our wife. Understand? That's the oracle, okay? The oracle is how we read from the unseen. The moon is how we read through the unseen. It is in darkness that the moon enhances in its value, okay? The value of the moon is more realized in the dark, okay? In the absence of the sun. Understand that, right? First of all, what is a node? A node is a point at which lines of pathways intersect or branch, according to Webster's dictionary, right? It's a point at which lines or pathways intersect or branch. So when you're looking at this graph, the node is the point where the pathway of the earth around the sun's tract intersects with the pathway of the moon around the earth's track. So this brings the three together to a point. It's a connection, a connecting point, a unified point between the sun, the earth, and the moon. All three are unified at that point. The descending lunar node, or what's called the south node, that's where the moon descends in its tract around the earth, because it does not evolve around the earth in a balanced fashion. It's not level. It does so at an angular fashion, where it descends downwards, going around, and it comes back upwards as it goes in its ascent to retrace its order and step. It's like you put a marble in a bowl and you let the marble swish around the bowl. You tilt it so that gravity can do its thing so that it rolls. It's like allowing gravity to give it a roll. The gravity of the earth gives it that roll. So the descending lunar node is where it descends downward as it goes around the earth. And it comes back up at the point that you're looking at the ascending lunar node, to retrace its steps around the earth. And this is the descending and ascending lunar nodes. Lunar node being because the north node and south node in your natal birth chart, it has everything to do with the moon. The moon. It's the moon's relationship between the three: itself, the earth, and the sun. Your biological, biochemical, physical being, your body, your flesh, your personality, and the heart soul urge, the soul, the intent and will, the expression of the heart and soul, as well as the moon, the emotionality that is involved with those experiences, how it affected me, how it made me feel, what it caused me to think about, what it caused me to do, what it provoked in me, what it awakened in me. The moon is represented by water. The slightest touch to water, it sends waves from the vibration of action, from the vibration of force. It sends waves throughout that water. So rather you touch the water lightly or you touch it forcefully, it's going to send waves through the water. Water is very sensitive to convert energy. Same thing with your emotions. Same thing with my emotions. The littlest thing that somebody says, the littlest thing that somebody does, it sends waves through our emotionality. We feel something. That person said this, that person did that, and we felt something. It sent a wave through our being. That's the moon. As above, so below. And looking at this graph, you are looking at what we are a projection of, what we are a hologram of. That's you, that's me in that picture. The sun in the center, that's the heart soul urge. It's your will, the intent of your will. The intent of your will. The moon, your intuition, your wisdom, your emotional body, emotionality, emotional temperament. And the earth is what joins these together. It's the spacesuit, the body, the flesh that interprets these energies through central nervous system, which is the astral body. The central nervous system, which is the astral body, which starts with Taurus, okay? Because Taurus rules the central nervous system's representation through the spinal cord. That was the origin of the astral body. Of course, not depicted in this picture. Venus goes before the Earth, and Mercury goes before Venus. So before the Earth is the astral body, before the astral body is the ethereal body, Mercury. So you have the eye, you have Mercury, the ethereal body, which is the electrical impulses, the data, the information that travels through the central nervous system, the electrical impulses. The information that interprets through this intricate system. Ethereal, the messenger body. The astral body relates that message to a feeling, to a sensitivity, to one of the five senses as gratification, a desire, a satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Something that material or other personalities would have to help you to experience. That's what the astral body is out to do, to find material, substances, or other people, personalities through relationships, resources, possessions, foods, flavors, textures. I like silk, I like wool, I like red, I like green. I like this guy, I like this girl. It interprets from the will to the ethereal and then to the astral, and now the body has a longing. The moon is related to all conversations. It gets into all conversations and activities. This is the mother that hears all of her children playing in the house. She might not interfere, she might not intervene, she might not get involved, but while she's washing dishes, while she's cleaning, doing laundry, while she's, handling business, while she's working, while she's doing whatever she's doing around the house, she hears everything and she feels everything. All right? Kids playing in the other room, Little brothers arguing and jumping off the bed, bang his brother's head into the wall, boom, and then our kids, they give that silent scream. It hurt when they had that silent scream. It's silent for like 5 seconds, and then they ah! The mother's in there like, about to drive me crazy. You feel something, but you don't respond to everything. You don't react to it necessarily, but you feel it anyway. The moon picks up on everything, okay? So all of these planets, the moon picks up on all of it, every bit of it. The moon heard that. The moon seen that, all right? There's nothing going on in this house that I don't know about. You know what I mean? So when it comes to the descending lunar node or south node, this is the culmination of all of those experiences that you've had, interactions, the energies that pass through you. All the things that you have known, all the things that you have experienced and understood, interacted with, dealt with, overcome. That's a descending point. Ascending, okay? This is the resurrection of self. Every time you come back to this life, you're resurrecting in a new being, a new form, a new personification, okay, for a new mission, a new intention. So you ascend back up that lunar node, and a new story is generated. It's like you're an actor that's with a firm, and uh, you played that movie, you played that role. They give you a call. Hey, do you want this part? Do you want to play in this movie? Oh, okay. So what's that about? Yeah, it's a movie about, you know, this guy or this girl. They, start out in life with this tragedy, and then they go through some things that teaches them the power that they have within themselves, and they overcome it, and they walk off into the sunset. Oh, great. Yeah, I like to play that part. That sounds like a good movie for me. So you sign up for it. Okay? The ascendant is the roles that you have to play in that movie. That's the roles you got to play in that new movie. The descendant is your experience in other movies that you're drawing off of. So this is an insert clip to make sure that I do not create a misunderstanding. When I say ascending and descending, I'm referring to the lunar descending point and the lunar ascending point, which is descending point, south node, ascending point, north node. Descending point, where the moon goes down in its orbit around the earth. Ascendant or ascending point of the lunar north node is when the moon comes up in its orbit around the earth. Okay, so this is what's being clarified. Ascendant and descendant, okay, is actually the first and seventh house polarity. All right, that has to do with the sun and position of the earth and location of birth, not the lunar orbit. Okay, to intuit what it could mean to show up in this part. You know what I'm saying? So you already played the role of a villain, a bank robber, or you played the role of a dad. You played the role of a farmer. You played the role of some karate prodigy. You played, you know what I mean? You played all these different roles over lifetimes. And now you're playing a role that you never played before. So what are you drawing off of? You're drawing off of your intuition, your past experiences. Okay? When somebody calls somebody for a job, we're trying to fill a role for a new job title, a new role. We want to look at your resume, because what we really want to know, do you have experience that can be transmutated into what we need you to be? Do you have experiences that can transcend uh, into a new form? You know, so you were a great chef and you used to run a food operation. You were a medic, so you're good at working under pressure. You trust your intuition. You're very sensitive about the care of people. You know what I mean? This tells me that about you. You were a mechanic before, so you're not afraid to get dirty. You have great logical sense, about yourself. Obviously, you think in mechanical ways, so troubleshooting shouldn't be a problem for you. You know, you ran a daycare, so you're very intuitive. You know how to be sensitive when it's time to be sensitive. You care about feelings. You know how to communicate in ways that are not, rough or offensive because you're dealing with babies all the time. Uh, you're a farmer, so you have a hard work ethic. You appreciate the outdoors. Every job that you had lets us know something about your nature. Your nature. Every job that you've done, it has an impact on your nature, your character, your intuitive body. Okay? It lets us know what intuition you're going to be pulling off of, what you're sensitive to, what your strong points could be because of those experiences. You was a police officer, so you know how to be gritty, okay, and think objective. Do your job, not take things personal, and not personalize, people's offenses toward you and stuff like that. It's just so many things that could be said from a resume. So the descending lunar node or south node, that's your resume. You worked here, you worked there, you worked there. Some jobs you did terrible, you were terrible at, and some jobs you were really good at. That's just how it is. All right, you wasn't good at everything. But what happens is you're here now, okay, and you're applying for this new job. That's a north node, okay. It's a new job, it's a new role, a new assignment, and you know where you've come from. You know what you got. Okay, you might have come from where everybody gave you the shitty roles and jobs, and you really know how to draw on your own strength and overlook the present moment and see, okay, I can get past this. I'm good at seeing past the moment and giving myself a vision and working toward that vision. I'm good at working with people that I really don't even like. Because in my resume, I've had to work with a lot of people that I don't like. Maybe you were a CEO or something, and people used to throw, shit and piss at you. You know what I mean? When you go to check on the sales, you got tough skin. So what I'm mentioning about this is that your experiences, it gives you faculties, it gives you attributes, qualifications in the spirit, in the instincts, in the nature, all right? That becomes part of the essence of who you are, all right? Pisces is what dissolves that form. Pisces is at the 12th house, okay? And that's what Pisces is all about. But Pisces dissolves the form that it once had. In other words, for example, the occupations that you had on that resume, that's the form. But the effect that it had on you, that's the essence. The type of energy that it demanded of you to pull it off, to be successful with it, to deal with it, to handle it. That's the part that's called the essence of spirit. You understand? That's the spirit of the matter. That goes back to your faculties, your attributes, your qualifications within you, skill, strategy, wisdom, expertise, right? So your past life experiences intuitively is at the south node. intuitively. Subconsciously, it's at the 12th house. Intuitively, it's at the south node. There's a difference. So, this insert is here again as part of the responsibility of making sure that there is clarity and understanding and not confusion. So, before this continues, I want to clarify with this detail. Neptune rules, and so does Jupiter. Neptune and Jupiter rules the 12th house, Pisces, okay? This is subconscious terrain. And this is the intuitive and astral memory over many, many, many lifetimes. Lifetimes that surpass the lifetimes of the lunar node. So, with this being the case, it also transcends dimensions. It also transcends galaxies, star systems, all of these things. So you could have come from an entire different star system where the physics of life and of the world, civilization, how people interact, what type of creatures or beings that you manifested into with spirit. All of these things could have been different, but Pisces is where the essence of this, the meaning, the value, what was important, of what your soul was affected by, it gets preserved here. So when you combine lunar force and Venus force, and you ascended into the superiority of outer planets that go beyond timelines, now we're dealing with 12th house. Now we're dealing with subconscious energy that has to be moved. Neptune is going to bring in astral and lunar downloads that are working and moving. Now, with that being said, Jupiter goes along with this as well. So it has a lot to do with our higher frequencies being subject to darkness, our higher frequencies being subject to misunderstandings, fears, guilt, greed, gluttony, lust. All of these shadows, every planet has a shadow, every impulse has a shadow, which is a demon of that planet. So your highest frequencies, which goes with your highest consciousness, that is, which goes with Jupiter, it's blocked and impaired by those shadows. You have to suffer what it means to walk in that shadow so that you could arrive at understanding of what that shadow is really all about. Because when you understand the shadow, you understand the light. When you know how to walk with the shadow, you know how to share the light. You know how to become the light. But you don't just get the light, because you're not going to understand it. You're not going to respect it. You're not going to embrace it. None of that, unless you walked in it as a shadow. So the 12th house is where we have to come from the darkness into the light. This is a lot different and a lot deeper. The lunar is still subject to time continuum because it is a planet of the inner astral belt. What is of the outer astral belt has to do with eternity. Eternity. And God has to do with what is everlasting. So Neptune pulls off of eternity, who we are in eternity, what we are in eternity. And the 12th house holds all of our faculties of eternity, not of this temporary time continuum and physics. That is a different theme and it should not be misunderstood one for the other. The north and south node has to do with that wisdom, experience, and impressions that was imprinted upon you based on your movement throughout the time continuum, your experiences within the time continuum, the inner planet experiences. It has nothing to do with outer planet experiences. It has everything to do with inner planet experiences. Outer planet experiences, that comes from Neptune, 12th house, Pisces. Whole different animal. Not the same. Now, for this reason, the south node has to do with wisdom. The north node has to do with downloading wisdom, learning new wisdom. The north and south node is all about wisdom through intuition and emotionality, which is why salvation, it gives you greater access and capacity for wisdom. When you add love into that, truth into that, good character, all of these different things, the wisdom is enriched. The north and south node is an axis of wisdom. That's what that is. And you have to learn how to harmonize the south and north node so that you can channel the south node like a water hose. Okay? You have to channel that south node into the north node so that in this present life, your past life wisdom serves you. It shows up for you and it flows. And as it flows, it submits to the form that you now have to produce it through, that you now have to deliver it through. You understand? You're repurposing it. So none of us are without wisdom. None of us are without something to offer. None of us are bankrupt. None of us. We all have a lot to give. The 12th house, Pisces, Neptune frequencies with Jupiter, this all has to do with love. This has to do with unconditional love, universal love. The higher self, the higher frequencies. And it is not the carnal, romanticized misunderstandings of love based on Venus. Like that's a total insult. That has nothing, not even in the slightest ways, to do with love at all. If anything, Virgo got more to do with love than Libra does. It ain't got a damn thing to do with love. Neptune, 12th house, Pisces, Jupiter, yeah. This is a territory where love is understood and where love is practiced, where love is embodied, harnessed, walk with, where you become love. And it's understandable why this is also a place that goes beyond timelines. It goes beyond lifetimes. It goes beyond galaxies. It goes beyond dimensions because love is that vast. It's that powerful. So let's not misunderstand these things for that. All right? Subconsciously, the 12th house includes more of generational, genetic DNA in the blood. Okay? I inherited through the blood type sophistications that bear on the subconscious, that communicates to the subconscious, that works for or against the subconscious. Okay? We don't want to misunderstand one for the other because Neptune rules the 12th house. All right? The moon rules the north and south node. I want you to keep this in mind as well. When your mother was forming you in the womb, she was going through something. Okay? She was experiencing something. And your father was too. Okay? And whatever she was going through and experiencing, it's in the blood, it's in the genetics. And consciously, it's also affecting you. It's leaving an imprint upon your soul, your psychology, your subconscious. It's imprinting upon it. Okay? So the planetary alignments, these impulses, what ends up showing up in your 12th house, it leaves an imprint of how your mother was relating to those forces that were emitting through the galaxy. These planetary energies. It clarifies what she herself was doing with it, how she was relating to it. And the father as well. Now, there could also be a generational curse that she was generating, or he was generating, the father, unresolved, or maybe they just created it. All right? Or they could have inherited it, but they didn't overcome it. So guess who they're going to pass it to? They're going to pass that generational curse to you. The generational curse is an algorithm of undoing. It is an algorithm of binding, an algorithm of stronghold, an algorithm of self-destruction and oppression, an algorithm of division of the blood and of the family, of legacy, an algorithm of blockage and loss, poverty, restriction, binding, okay? All of these different things. So that 12th house clarifies what she, the mother or the father, okay, could have left with you from the blood and this psychic frequencies that they were emitting to you, handing down to you. And this also can indicate what you were destined to overcome for the bloodline, for the family. Because if a curse shows up in your 12th house as an impulse of a planet, you were not destined to fail by it. You were not destined to be cursed by it. You were not destined to be overtaken by it. You were destined to overcome it. You were destined to rule it, to conquer it. And when you do, it becomes illumination. It becomes a source of unconditional love. It becomes an expression of unconditional love. It becomes a means of healing. It becomes a hand of God. It becomes perfect love. Understand that. That's different. It's not the same. All right. Now, co-rulership goes with the Lord and or planets and stelliums aspects that have a direct relationship with the north or south node. But the primary source of the north and south nodes disposition is the moon itself, because the north and south node speaks to the north node of the moon and the south node of the moon, and how it related on the track of the earth and the sun and itself. Okay, bringing the three parts of self together. Now, mind you, what is inside of the track that you are looking at of the sun, that purple track, okay? Inside of there, it includes Venus and Mercury, okay? So the sun, Venus, and Mercury, that comes as a package of the south node. Your astral body is still influenced by that. Your mercurial reads, cognitive dispositions are still being informed by that. That goes in with it too, as well as the signs that go with it, right? The signs that go with it as well. It's a package deal. Now, as it relates to the North Node, this is where faded experiences come in, because the faded experience has to keep you within a certain theme of life experiences so that the meaning of your life remains consistent for your soul's evolution. Okay? If I pick out a movie about mobsters, all right, I want to watch me a good mobster gangster movie. And I'm sitting here watching a movie and I'm constantly seeing stuff like, you know, some Lifetime shit where, I don't know, some people sitting around crying about, oh, somebody stole my baby out of the carriage, or, you know what I mean? Somebody, is my husband cheating? You know what I'm saying? Some Lifetime drama. I might turn the movie off because I'm like, hold up. I thought this was a mobster movie, a gangster movie. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to watch a mobster movie. You know what I'm saying? And instead, this movie seems to be about a bunch of Lifetime shit. So the North Node is what makes sure that what your life is supposed to be about, it remains consistent as far as how it's supposed to affect the evolution of your soul. It's the things that you haven't learned yet, you haven't been exposed to yet, your vulnerabilities. You're good at what's at the South Node, okay? Now it's time to learn new things. Open up. Open up. This is a new role. I know you're not used to playing the mobster, okay? You're used to playing Batman, all right? But this time you're going to play the mobster. It's different, okay? So I want you to use whatever you learn from playing the role of Batman, take it with you. But whatever gets in the way of you adjusting yourself to learning how to be the mobster this time instead of Batman, you got to get rid of that. You got to let it go, because it's time to transform. And the North Node are the fated experiences that have to come through that are beyond your power. Okay? You can't resist it. You can't stop it or block it from manifesting. It's inevitable that it dawns on you, because this is what is going to cause you to evolve in that specific way. Understand? Right? Now, your ascendant point plays into this movie script as well. Okay? The ascendant point is more like the name of the movie. The North Node is how the movie is the life path. It includes the life path and fated experiences, the drama that has to occur to give the movie depth and meaning. You know what I'm saying? That is more so of what that's about. It's the pathway that you have to go down so that the movie can unfold right. Because the North Node is more like this, right? How boring would it be if you watch a movie and it's always on the same scene? You know what I'm saying? You just on the same scene all the time. So, you want to see different scenes, different scenarios and stuff like that. So the North Node includes levels of depth for your soul to pass through, ups and downs, that constantly provokes an awakening of a particular energy in your consciousness, a new wisdom. And the sign that's behind that North Node, that's that new wisdom that you're trying to download. That's the new faculty that you're trying to download. The planet, sign, stellium, and aspects of the North Node, that's what you're trying to evolve to incorporate into your conscious and personality. That's what's going to help you to fulfill the movie title, which is the AC, the ascendant degree point, the ascendant Sabian symbol, degree point. You're going to fulfill that movie title. Now, the descendant lunar node, the south node, we look at this point to know about the person. What is your go-to in your instincts? What is your go-to in your instincts? You can also understand what is the go-to in a person's instincts by looking at the Scorpio, Pluto, and eighth house. You know what I'm saying? Secondarily, you can look at the Mars to know what is their go-to in their instincts. You can look at the Mars as well. But that south node is what they intuit to do every time. And without a considerable amount of focus and effort, you're going to keep resorting to the same south node means of solution in your life, approach in your life, and you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to keep recreating the same things that you've been creating over lifetimes. And what's going to happen is the heart soul urge is going to feel great dissatisfaction because it realizes it is not evolving. It's not moving anywhere. It's like, yo, why you keep creating the same thing? It's like playing the same song. You go to a party and the DJ just play the same song over and over again. Like, yo, you gonna play a different song or what? If you don't play a different song, I'm leaving the party. And that's how your heart feels. It's like, yo, why do you keep playing the same song? We got to change this up. So the sign at the south node, planet at the south node, these things can indicate what you constantly intuitively drawn for. So let's say you learn the martial arts and you got a hell of you got a hell of a sidekick. You know what I'm saying? And that sidekick been pulling you through. Or maybe you got a good haymaker. that haymaker, that haymaker been pulling you through. Every time you knuckle up and you go for that haymaker, you just be laying niggas out. You know what I'm saying? It worked like Kimbo Slice. Back in the day, Kimbo Slice, when he was knocking niggas out, you know what I'm saying, all through Florida. And he was relying on them haymakers. He was relying on that slug, that old school slug 'em, But when it's time for you to evolve, you can't keep resorting to what your instincts, your pre-programmed instincts is telling you. You have to download a new format for your instincts, okay? Your past life instincts might be Virgo, okay? But the instincts that you have to download this time, you have to add more water to it. So the north node is at Pisces, the south node is at Virgo, right? Let's say the south node is at Virgo. You used to those Virgo instincts. Everything got to be perfect. You OCD, right? Dot every I, cross every T. If it's not perfect, you ball it up and throw it in the garbage. If people aren't perfect, you dismiss them. You don't want nothing to do with them. If you're not perfect, you down yourself. You hide your imperfections because you don't want nobody to know you as being imperfect. So you walk around fronting with, a poker face and an outer appearance of perfection. But at night you cry yourself to sleep because you really fucked up just like everybody else, but you don't want nobody to know it. You know what I mean? You're very controlling. You don't know how to let people be imperfect because you don't know how to let yourself be imperfect. You're judgmental and overcritical of others because you're overcritical of yourself. But being overcritical of yourself is what made you so masterful at what you're doing. You became a master carpenter. You became a master hairstylist. You became a master chef. You became a master artist with that South Node Virgo. It pulled it off. It got you there. It got you to perfection. And you're known all over the city. You're known all over the world. People come to you for your services. Okay, you got that down pat, and you're used to intuiting that Virgo intuition every time for everything that you do, thinking that it's going to pull you through for the fulfillment of your life, for the meaning of your life, for the purpose of your life, to answer your heart soul urge, the sun's impulse for. But this time is different. And it takes you time to realize that, right? So let's say your north node is at Pisces. Okay? If your north node is at Pisces, that means you got to add some water into that hard, dry ass dirt. Okay? Because right now, you are some hard, dry ass dirt with that south node Virgo. That shit will not budge. If you beat it, if you kick it, if you throw something at it, you hit it with a hammer, nothing but dust to come up because you got so hardened in that form. Okay? So usually when a person has South Node Virgo, the moon is at the north somewhere. Okay? Because it has to rain water down to soften that shit up. All right? This also goes with master numbers like 22s. You know what I mean? 22s, 11s, 33s. Mostly 22s. It goes a lot with master numbers, you know what I mean? But say the North Node is at Pisces. So this time you have to learn to see that, yes, you achieve perfection through your understanding of how to manipulate the material realm, how to maintain control over the material realm, how to keep number and count over the material realm, how to keep measure over the material realm. But see, that's earth. The opposite end of that is heaven. That's spirit. Okay? That's spirit. So what you're here to learn now is that no matter how perfect you get with manipulating the measures of the earth, spirit is still wiser than you. And spirit can show you its wisdom through imperfection. Spirit can manifest its superiority and its wisdom through imperfections. Spirit can take something so imperfect, something so screwed up, something so chaotic, and show you how its wisdom is masterful to your mastery that you assume over your life or over that talent and gift that you got. So what you end up doing is you end up surrendering to the will of the universe, because Pisces represents that which is out of your control as well. Surrendering to a greater wisdom, surrendering to a greater power, surrendering to a greater wisdom than yours. Learning how to not rely on your capacity of wisdom and mastery so that you can download a greater capacity of wisdom and mastery. You've been the master. Now it's time to be a disciple of the universe, a disciple of God. People have been following you for lifetimes because of your mastery. Now it's time for you to follow God so that you can learn a new level of mastery in life. But it's not through means that you understand. And Pisces shows you mastery and perfection through means that you can't explain, that you can't articulate, that you just can't understand. You can't fathom, because this is from God. You see what I'm saying? This is you submitting to the forces, the mysteries, the perfection of spirit. And that's what you're learning, because you're used to, I know everything about this physical realm. There's a story that you could look up about this in particular, this contrast. It's called Khidr wa Musa. Khidr wa Musa. Khidr wa Musa. Musa. Khidr wa Musa. Okay? Khidr meaning the green one. Khidr wa Musa. And Musa asked Allah, or God, exclaiming, he said, I'm the most learned. Is there anyone who is more knowledgeable than me? And Allah said, yeah, I got somebody for you. Because see, Musa represented Virgo. Okay? He represented Virgo. the Virgo mastery. All right. Khidr represented the Piscean, uh, you know, mastery, which is of spirit. Okay, of spirit. So there is mastery of earth and mastery of uh, your your understanding to rely on spirit. So you have one person who's a master of everything to manipulate in the earth, that's Virgo. And then you have the person who has become a master at learning and understanding how to rely on source, how to rely on spirit. Okay? Those are two different type of masters. All right? And after you have mastered the earth, it's time for you to learn that. Now, okay, that's great that you got that. Now it's time to learn Pisces. Okay? That's where you go after that. That 22, will blow your mind at how uh, people who have life path or heart soul urge number 22, everything that they touch, everything that they do it correct. They do it masterfully. Nobody could do it better. And they can become very rigid, intolerant, left-handed, you know, um, judgmental of others, overbearing, intolerant, impatient, arrogant, you know, uh, looking down on other people because they don't get it, you know. And once they see that Pisces has a whole realm that they don't even know where to begin at, it blows their mind. Okay. But God has to humble them first before that they could tap into that part of the self and start to see, wow, I've been teaching people in the earth for so long, seeing myself as the master. But now God wants to teach me. And I'm back at a place where I know nothing. I'm as dumb as they come when it comes to spirit and the perfect wisdom that mysteriously envelops me, that leads me, that guides me, that shows me that I don't know shit. And I'm starting to think and believe that maybe this is the source that taught me, that gave me the faculties that I have. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it is really an amazing thing because the North and South Node helps us to remember that there's a balance to be achieved in everything. There's a balance. There has to be a balance. There always has to be a balance. And that South Node, we have all our confidence in it. We used to that haymaker knocking people out, laying them down. But what happened when you got to face a different type of, opposition and enemy or opponent, okay? And they not getting ready to fall to your haymaker. You throwing haymakers in that it ain't making them budge. Like when you play video games, you get to the higher level, and you used to doing that. Are you getting? And then are you getting ain't working? You know what I'm saying? And you gotta learn something else. You gotta figure something else out because it ain't budging. It ain't working. What you used to doing, it ain't gonna get you through. What you used to relying on, it is not gonna get you through. So that North Node, yeah, this is what you need to learn. This is what you need to submit to. This is what you need to be humble about. This is what you need to make space in your ego for. This is what you need to be receiving and recepting of. Okay? That's the divine feminine that you need to open up to. The South Node is that divine masculine that you need to allow to dissolve into new form. You know what I'm saying? You have to allow it to dissolve into new form. In the North Node, that's a divine feminine that you have to, be humble and receive into your life if you are to continue forward. You have to be a disciple there. You're a master at the South Node, but you must be a disciple with the North Node. You know, so a lot of confidence comes with that South Node. But guess what gets you through that North Node? Humility and the acceptance of the fact that I don't know anything. I don't know nothing. I'm here to learn. That's what that North Node is all about. And we have to get in that attitude, that spirit when it comes to that North Node. with that being said, the life path is critical right here. Okay? Because the North Node, you have to compare to your life path. This is where your life path is going to be fated to you. It's going to be fated to you. It's going to come as an essence of an experience. But through the intent of the heart soul urge, you have to give it form. Rewind that statement as many times as you need to understand what I'm saying. And if you don't understand, please ask the question in the comment section, because my will is to help to create an understanding. That's the point. You know what I mean? If we don't have an understanding, then it's futile. What are we doing? We want an understanding. Okay. So the North Node, you got to have humility. Why? Okay. Just like I learned from Minister Louis Farrakhan when I was a teenager. Okay. He taught me when I thought I was getting ready to just be reading books and being knowledgeable and all this other stuff, okay? He taught me that humility is the first step to being a student, all right? And it took me all of my 20s to make it all the way through my 20s to really know what that meant. It sounds so simple, but it took me decades to understand what that really means, all right? In other words, if you don't have humility, you got yourself in the way, because you think you know every damn thing. All right. And a teacher is not always going to be a person. Sometimes it's going to be a situation and circumstances that test and examine your ego. A situation and circumstance that presses on your feelings and your ego, your sense of entitlement. Okay. It's going to test you with jealousy. It's going to test you with envy. It's going to test you with competition. It's going to test you with sense of inadequacy, low self-esteem, all this other stuff. All right. It's going to test you. But if you got humility, you will overcome it every time. You will be the student every time. The humility is what keeps us as the student to the experience. There's nothing you could do about the inevitable fated North Node experience that is going to dawn and manifest upon you. All right? But when you have humility, you remain a student of God. That's all you got to remember. If you got humility, you are learning. You are learning every moment, every breath, every heartbeat of the time that you are in a spirit of humility. You are learning. Everything becomes a teacher. Everything. It becomes a teacher. It becomes a master instructor to you. That situation that you just went through, it made you feel humiliated. It made you feel embarrassed. It made you feel low. It made you feel inadequate. It made you feel less than. But guess what? Is that what God meant for you? No. That's just how you felt because of your estimation of yourself, your overestimation of yourself, your entitlement, your assumptions, your thought process. Maybe there's something in that you could learn. But once you get through all that and get your ego out the way, what did you learn? Oh, okay, see, now we're getting wiser. Now we're getting wiser. Yeah. You see, now we're becoming malleable. Now we're softening ourselves so that we can mold and transform and change into who we are supposed to become. Okay? So the North Node is misunderstood for the destiny, the point of destiny. No, it's not. Okay? It's fate. It's only destiny when you are aligned in how you show up for that fate. When you are aligned in how you respond to the fate, not react to the fate. So when you react to the fate in defiance, rebellion, ignorance, any of the 12th house shadows, okay, an unworked Chiron, okay, unresolved negative aspects, when you respond, react. I'm using specific words. When you react to the North Node in that manner, when you react to the fate in that manner, it's a point of fate. And fate can be good or it can be bad. Okay? Fate can also include karma. It's destiny when you respond to it in a spirit of humility, okay? Bringing in your heart, soul, urge, impulse, and an acceptance of the life path vibration that you are to be consistent with. Your attitude of acceptance with it. Ah, respecting what it's supposed to mean, what it's supposed to be. Honoring what was meant of it. You see? Healing those 12th house impulses so that you're coming from unconditional love, so that you're coming from understanding, so that you're coming from compassion, so that you're coming from universal will and intent, unity. You see? Now that North Node becomes destiny. All right? Because God's destiny for us is always good, it's never bad. There's no such thing as a bad destiny that God meant for anybody. Nobody was meant to have a bad destiny. You can have a bad fate, but your destiny is only good. You know what I mean? And this is why we gotta do the work, per se. Do the work. Now, as I mentioned in the life path, we gotta educate ourselves on that life path because the life path pours into that North Node. So whatever vibration your life path is, that's the vibration, that's the consistency, the context, the energy. It's the type of experiences that's supposed to be fated to you. It's of a particular kind. Okay? And this is why we got to get clear about what our destiny is. So that as fate manifests to us, as we have fated experiences, rather it be persons, relationships, ambitions, goals, ideas, pursuits, commitments, you know, uh, at a crossroads, hard decisions, we make sure that we respond to fate with the intent to embrace that life path, with the intent to form it according to that life path, with the intent, okay, to express that life path. That's what's supposed to happen. All right. Our soul, our heart, soul, urge expression, that's the soul and what it wants to make of uh, its relationship with that life path. But fated experiences have to come for us to have that choice, that freedom, that decision. Okay? For us to have the material to express that combination with. Fate is the material that manifests for us to express our relationship between the heart, soul, urge, and the life path number. Understand that. Look at your life path, not somebody else's. When we have fated experiences, North Node, and we show up to that fated experience, North Node, with a South Node disposition rather than the North Node disposition, we're going backwards. We're not growing. We're only saturating. And we're not here to saturate. We're not here to degenerate. It's saturate and degenerate. When you act and respond to everything from the South Node, you're saturating and degenerating. It doesn't mean that you can't utilize your forces at the South Node. It just means that it has to submit to the context of the life path through the North Node. Understand that. That combination. That combination. Also, the heart soul urge has to be our intent. It has to remain as our intent. But the intent has to respect the destiny. It has to respect the life path. So if your intent is number one, okay, to be influencer, to be the magician, the one who finds solutions, the one who leads the way, the one who gives people the confidence to move forward with nothing, when all else is out. You're the one who says, you know what, it's never over till you say it's over, you know, and your life path is to take that down 9 and not down 8. If you take it down 8, you violate, because that's not what you have that energy for. You're supposed to take it down 9, not 8. And it's important for us to understand that, because that's part of obedience. We got to get into the attitude and spirit of, I don't know nothing. I'm here to learn. Teach me. Teach me. Show me. I don't understand, but I want to. We want to fake the funk a lot of times and think that it makes us weak or vulnerable. If everybody knows or notices that I don't know what I'm doing, that north node, that's where you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to do the opposite. That's where you got to be humble. You got to have some humility at that north node. And you especially have to honor the teachers that are sent to you through that north node. The masters, the gurus, the guides. When we take risk in our life and we stay in a place of vulnerability in our life because we want to grow, we want to make sure that it's in the context and spirit of that north node. Because when you're staying in a place of vulnerability and it's not in the spirit of that north node, your vulnerabilities might be irresponsibility, actually. And it could be arrogance, even defiance, rebellion, So you want to check that and make sure that you're not playing yourself. You're supposed to remain vulnerable for that north node. You have to stay in the spirit of vulnerability for that north node, because vulnerability is, that lets you know that I'm in a position of growth. I'm in a position of growth. Okay? That north node is where you are supposed to show up every day, knowing that you don't know the answers, knowing that you don't know where the hell you're going. You like a new a new kid, at school. You got your nice school clothes on. Your mama put, Vaseline on your face. You know what I mean? But you sitting there looking pitiful. You don't even know where the bathroom is at. You 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 don't even know where the bathroom is at. You're lost. You know what I mean? you, you don't even know you don't even know where the bathroom is at, man. You're lost. You're looking pitiful. You know what I'm saying? In my career, when new guys come out, with training or apprenticeship, they come out there with their brand new tool belts, shiny tools, brand new level, brand new tape measurement hammer and saws and all this stuff. And they stand out like a sore thumb, because when you look at them and you see all these brand new tools that they got, and the hard hats are all shiny and the boots are all new, and, the boots aren't worn out, the pants are all, neat. And you're looking at them, you're like, oh, here's a new guy, and you sit there looking like, oh, he don't know shit, Yeah, take this lumber, pass it up, walk it over there, whatever. When you show up like that, you're pitiful. And it's okay to be pitiful, like, for real. It's okay. At that north node, it's okay. So when you look at your north node, you can make yourself familiar and say, okay, I know where this north node shows up in my life. I get it, and you should be able to think back where that north node is demanding your attention. You're in a vulnerable position where you're having to trust someone, trust God, or trust, your instincts or whatever it is, to come up with the answers, to know how to show up or what to do. Now, a lot of times that north node has to do with an adjustment of our personality, an adjustment of our character, an adjustment of our mentality, an adjustment of our consciousness, an adjustment of our attitude, okay? Adjustment of our communications, how we deliver, you know? Something about you needs to change if you're going to um, be productive in life. If you're going to reap the benefits of passing through this lifetime. Something about you has to change. And if we're resisting it because we don't want to be vulnerable, we don't want to have to change, we want everybody else to change, we want everything else to change to fit us, then, it's counterproductive. You know, it's counterproductive. The 12th house, Pisces, subconscious materials dissolving there. Okay, and that's a lot different. It has more to do with Neptune and Jupiter. Okay, through your higher learning and through understanding and unconditional love. Understanding and unconditional love. That's how you make peace with what's going on there. That's how you resolve that. Understanding and unconditional love. Okay? But understanding requires experience. Okay? I can't say I understand something if I don't experience it. The 12th house is where experience is the only thing that could get motion there, as well as reflection, solitude and reflection after your experiences. That must go together. This leads me to a point about understanding. Okay? We are scheduled to suffer many things in life. We should never subject ourselves to suffering. We should never intentionally, deliberately subject ourselves to suffering. But there's some suffering that we must move through, that we must pass through. And when it comes to that, we have to surrender to the fact that there's an understanding that we're meant to have. There's an understanding that we're meant to have. We only get an understanding when there's suffering involved. There's no other way. If you have an understanding of something, there's some kind of suffering involved. You relate on a deep transformational level. Scorpio has to carry you to that. Pisces has to carry you to that. Cancer has to carry you to that. The water signs carry you to understandings. And each one of the water signs is a portal to salvation for the signs that precede it. For example, the first and second house and third house, okay, has its port of salvation through the fourth house. The fifth, the sixth, and the seventh house has its port of salvation through the eighth house. The ninth, the 10th, the 11th house has its port of salvation through the 12th house. Understand, okay? It works that way. Every one of them has to go to the water for the salvation. The culmination of those experiences in each of those houses, it has that pool of water to cleanse itself in. Understand that. So, when we're meant to have an understanding, we will see the signs that there's grace there. Always look for the grace in the situation. When you see that God is accommodating and providing for you, taking care of you as you move through very difficult energies and experiences, you're surrounded by grace. Know that there's a timeline to it. It's not forever. There's a timeline. And you're meant to get the understanding from the experience, because later on, you are going to have to show up with unconditional love for someone who's suffering the same thing. But you're not going to be able to make that contact with that love if you didn't suffer it yourself. Now, when you have a planet at the north node or south node and or stellium, you should know what the enemies of that planet is and what the friends of that planet is. Okay? Every planet has enemies or vices. Every planet has enemies or vices, and you need to know what it is. Because that planet at the north node indicates that you're going to have to master working with that archetype towards your destiny. That archetype, that impulse is going to be something that you're going to have a transformational understanding with, an intimate understanding with. It's going to have to be second nature. This can manifest as a person or a lifelong responsibility. And if you don't know what this planet is in its shadow, what its negative aspects are, what its burdens are, what its curses are, you're setting yourself up for failure. You should be prepared. Same thing with the South Node. If you have a planet at the South Node, you've had good and bad relationships with this planet. You know this planet very well. You know its evils and you know its good. You're very familiar with it. And you may have to purify your relationship with those impulses of planets. You may have to find some boundaries for it. So, just want to bring it all together, make sure that all points are understood. You know what I'm saying? All points are understood. Now, as you see on the chart, if I got the timing right on here, as far as when I put the chart up, I put these charts together, and it was fun. You know what I'm saying? Being creative, my first time doing this, but I think it turned out fair. You know what I mean? If you look at the chart in the center, you see that arrow. That's to let you know how the energy is moving. Behind that arrow in the center of the chart is the moon. That's to remind you, okay, this is a lunar context here that we're talking about. So the north and south node has a lot to do with your relationship, with your emotionality, your intuition, and the wisdom that you have and the wisdom that you need. The wisdom comes from repetition, okay? Doing over and over again, experiencing things. And that wisdom comes from how your emotions were mastered as you move through those experiences, okay? That's the wisdom, all right? The South Node is where you already got all that, and it's time to transmute it, okay? We got to transmute this now. Scorpio and Pluto is going to have a lot to do, and the eighth house is going to have a lot to do with how you transmute this South Node energy. Because Scorpio is the one that transforms things in Pluto, okay? Don't kid yourself. So if you're like, oh, how do I do this? How am I going to do that? Okay, where's your Scorpio at? That lets you know right there. Eighth house, what sign do you have at the eighth house? That lets you know right there. Pluto, that lets you know right there. You see? Now, your karma through Saturn, your karmic bonds that you are meant to pass through, that is going to be where restrictions are placed around you to make sure that you concentrate on critical points of evolution, justice, paying back debts, even in the scores. You know, uh, if you took a tooth, okay, it's time to give you a tooth. If you poked out an eye, it's time to get your eye poked out. You know what I'm saying? And it might not have happened in this lifetime. You know, your karmic bond might be with, Uncle Johnny, but in the past life, Uncle Johnny was your son. And you might have, I don't know, you treated your son terrible. Now your Uncle Johnny's treating you the same way. You know? In a past life, your mother might have been your brother or your father, your daughter, your sister, your uncle, your cousin, whoever. But in this life, it's your mother. And, you know, that karma has to move and balance that out between the souls. Okay? So we don't always have a cognitive understanding of why we have to suffer certain things with people. And it's not for us to just be crying and complaining all the time. Oh, it's not fair. It's not fair. How do you know? How you know it ain't fair? How you know? Because you're entitled? How do you know? You know what I mean? How do you know? Now, the way that karmic bonds work is you ain't getting out of that until you learn the lesson. You could kick all you want, scream, cry. Saturn ain't letting you out until you learn the lesson. And the lesson is always in agreement and alignment with compassion, understanding, and love. Compassion, understanding, love, which includes forgiveness, tolerance, unity, empathy, compassion. Okay? So until we arrive at this attitude and disposition toward that karmic person, you ain't getting out of that. You're going to keep on going through it. And you might dodge that person, but guess what? Somebody else is going to manifest with the same spirit and energy to make sure you learn that lesson. It's just going to be through somebody else. So how long are you going to keep running? How long are you going to keep running? You might as well learn how to love so you can get it over with. Forgive. Heal. You know what I mean? So, yeah, this arrow in the center, at the bottom you see transmute, at the top you see download. Just as simple as that. North node, south node, okay? So the south node, you got to transmute that, okay? The north node, you got to download that, right? The north node, south node changes every 18 months. So every year there's an overlap. It's always an overlap. Every year we're coming out of north and south node transit. And the following year, you're going to be going into one. Okay, so there's always going to be an overlap. Every year there's going to be an overlap. Well, every other year. Depends, I guess if you... let me see. Yeah, every other year there's an overlap. All right? So, every 18 months we have a change of the north and south node. Now, did I do this right? Let me make sure I did this right. Now, planets go counterclockwise. The north and south node goes clockwise. Did I do that right? Yes, I did. Okay, I did do that correct. Thank God. All right. I thought it was going to be a disaster. I'm like, I finally think I did something right. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the planets go counterclockwise. All right? The north and south node goes clockwise. Remember that. All right? They're not going the same direction. So the north and south node changes clockwise. The planets evolve around counterclockwise, the opposite direction. So they go opposite ways. As you see on the chart at the top, the NN, the SN at the bottom, NN for north node, south node, SN at the bottom, okay? And it's showing you the direction it's going. The north node is going to the right, the south node is going to the left. Self-explanatory. Okay? As that changes, it changes what the collective is transmuting and downloading. Every 18 months, we are changing what we're transmuting and changing what we download. A lesson, a common and collective lesson is cast over all of us every 18 months. It's from the cradle to the grave. Now, your natal north node and south node in your natal birth chart, this is where it was at when you was conceived. All right. So when you was conceived, that's where the north and south node was at. Well, better yet, when you were born. Let me make it more clear, because you could have been conceived at a north and north node prior to it, and then at your birth time, you are born at the change of it. So to be clear, okay, at the time you were born, it indicates where the north and south node was at the time that you were born. Okay, that's where it was at. That's the energy that you was downloading and embodying. Okay, you had to come through that portal because that's the assignment that you had. So it's like jump rope, double dutch. You know, in my generation, the girls used to play double dutch. Okay, they stand on a corner and they got a string in both hands. You know, it's usually a laundry string or electric cord. You know, somebody's uncle, you know what I'm saying, after work brought home an electric cord and they used that, you know what I'm saying, to play double dutch. You know, and the right and the left hand swings, you know, in an alternative motion, and you know you go for the double dutch. But to jump in there, you got to time it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're jumping between revolutions, okay, of the rope. It's the same thing. If you have a specific assignment, you have to come at a specific time that matches or that's going to accommodate and host the karmic assignment that you have. So it's like playing double dutch. You got to time it. So you came in at a time that was going to facilitate your soul's transformational journey. Okay? And it was timed. It was timed. What else we got here? So now, South Node, North Node is always going to be a polarity, not a duality. Dualities are next to each other. Polarities are across from each other. Okay? So polarities, they are solutions one for the other. So when there's a crisis in one energy, you pull off of the other as a solution. You understand? So if you have an imbalance with Scorpio energy, you have to pull off a Taurus to heal it. If you have an imbalance with Leo energy, you have to pull off Aquarius to heal it. You know what I mean? The polarity has the antidote. It has the medicine already built in it. You know, you got too much fire, you need a little air. You know, well, not necessarily. That's not always the case. But if there's too much fire in your characteristics, you may have to balance it with more air. Okay? Too much fire in your characteristics looks like you're too much action prone. More air means you have more analysis that's involved in the action. You see what I'm saying? More detail, more data, more assessment, more conversation, more counsel. All right? You know, too much earth, you're too rigid. You know, water can soften that up where you can get closer to your emotionality to help you to intuit better outcomes. Okay? So it's always going to be a polarity. Dealing with the North and South node, we are learning to harmonize those polarities. We want to be aware of that as well. So your North node lets you know the element, the sign, and possibly an impulse according to a planet that you need to open yourself up to. And if you open yourself up to that, you're going to find that your life makes more sense. You're going to find that you are killing two birds with one stone. You're going to find that you are solving so many problems at once. You're going to heal things and fix things, correct things that you don't even mean to, you know, because it just comes with getting aligned. You know what I mean? It's like your back is hurting and your neck is hurting and all this other stuff, and come to find out it's the type of shoes that you're wearing. Come to find out it's your posture. Come to find out it's the way you sleep. So many things can be healed and corrected by doing the littlest things. Okay? The North and South node is that sensitive. North node is about downloading a new character, a new mindset, a new attitude, a new consciousness. So we got to be open to grow and learn. We can't be stubborn and fixated and I'm just going to stay like this. This is me. That's not going to work. You know, those are your past lives. Now, we're subject to the time continuum. Okay? We come from eternity, but we are subject to the time continuum until we return back to eternity. Therefore, we must participate in these things. We must be transformed. We must become new. No, you are not supposed to just stay the same. No. And we want to investigate, study, learn, understand who we're supposed to be evolving into, and not resist it. Embrace it. Now, collectively, you always want to know where the South and North Node is at. Okay? Because, see, astrology helps you to get your opinion out the way. It helps you to get your ego out the way so that you can get down to what the real meaning of things are. So you can get in the right context and not be out here shooting in the dark. So, depending on where the North and South Node is at, you understand the context of global and national experiences. That helps you to understand what these experiences are about, what they are signs of, what they are working towards, what it's meant to enlighten us about, what it's meant to teach us. What are we downloading? What consciousness, attitude, understanding, character, or collective agreement are we downloading? Okay? The South Node helps us to understand what we have to let go of, what we have to purge, detox, say goodbye to, what we have to transmute. We no longer can be living, thinking, believing, acting according to that type of consciousness. We have to transmute it. This helps you not to go against the universe, not to go against the will of God, but to be aligned with the will of God. The North and South Node helps you to understand what the will of God is for the collective. And because it's for the collective, it also gives you the context of what you're going to be learning over the next 18 months. So you look at that North and South Node, like if, for example, the North and South Node is about to head for North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo. Okay? So you don't want to wait till then. You want it ahead of time. You go and look, okay, where is Virgo for me? Where is Pisces for me? Where is that access in my life? What houses I occupy? Oh, okay. So God is going to be working with me on these two houses. God is going to be working with me on this axis over the next 18 months. Let me prepare myself so that I don't resist. Okay? So I don't get myself in the way, so that I humble myself to these lessons, so that I humble myself to these experiences, so that I have a level of acceptance and embrace for the inevitable fate that is required to teach me, enlighten me about this. Okay, I'm going to have to let some things go at the South Node. I'm going to get prepared for that. I'm going to have to open myself up to new vulnerabilities at the North Node. Let me get myself prepared for that. So you know that there's going to be an 18-month lesson, right? So when it starts happening and manifesting and you complaining and oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, I can't believe this happened, can't believe. How you didn't know that this was going to, how did you not know? Okay? How do we not know? I mean, I'm not saying that for those who didn't understand it prior to this, to this lesson, but just know that you're fortunate to be of a community who has access to this understanding. Okay? Because you could prepare yourself for exactly what we're getting ready to learn and what we are learning. You could get insight into it. Okay? You could look ahead and know, okay, this planet's going to be moving through the South Node. That means I'm going to have to purge some things with how I relate to this planet. Okay, this planet's moving through the North Node. I'm going to have to open myself up to some things that this planet may have to offer me. This impulse. If you have rulers like Saturn at the South Node, there's some karma is going to be, passing through with how you relate it to your past self. Okay, Saturn at the North Node, there's some karma that you're going to have to pass through for you to have access to your new self. You see, there's some exercises you're going to have to go through, you know? So these are things to think about. These are things to think about. It helps us to stay accurate with what everything means. World events are always going to reflect the North and South Node. Every time. It will never fail. The world events are always going to reflect the context of the North and South Node. That helps you to understand why things are happening. It even gives you a level of predictability. Understand that. This is a useful tool for your children too, not just yourself. We can't be selfish with this. You know, North Node, South Node, you look ahead and, you look at your daughter, you look at your son, your husband, your wife, people who you love, whatever. And oh wow, okay. South Node's about to pass through a sensitive area for them. It's going to go through their eighth house. Okay, they may have a lot of things to learn in relationships, power struggles, trust, okay, betrayal, you know, uh, duties and responsibilities, moving through some very difficult burdens, transformational experiences, maybe even experiencing some deaths. Okay, so to prepare yourself to show up supportive for them. And that person, before that South Node hits that eighth house, they might be up in heaven with this person that they just met. Oh, I love my boo boo. You know what I mean? I met a great guy. I met a great girl. You don't want to shatter their dreams. You know what I'm saying? You can't be like, oh, don't get with this person. You're about to go through something. You have to let a person pass through their fated experiences. All right. But what I'm saying is, you know what's going to happen. Okay. South Node, eighth house. They met a new person. They fallen head over heel in love and all this other stuff. So you know that this person is being set up to learn some transformational experiences with this person. So you position yourself spiritually to stand behind them so that when they fall, you can comfort them. You can guide them. You know to start paying attention to what's being said and done right now so that you can help them to have insight into what they're about to go through later. You know, these are things that we need to pay attention to. You're going through something very terrible, yada, yada, yada. Um, I don't understand what this is about. Where's the North and South Node at? Okay, that helps you to get your context right there. And then the rest of the chart are details. Okay, but that North and South Node is the overriding theme of what energy is passing through your life at that time. It gives a context of what we are experiencing 18 months at a time. Okay, and everything else is details. Everything else is details. Thank you for listening. Your feedback is always appreciated. That way I know how to meet you, where to meet you at, based on the feedback that I get. It informs my teaching style. It helps me to understand how to show up, how to express, how to deliver, you know. So, go ahead and leave your comments down at the bottom if you have questions or different things like that about your North and South Node. If it's basic, if it's general, if it's something I could cover right there in the comment section, I don't mind at all, because my will is to be helpful. If it's going to require, more details, obviously, the question that you have, then you can schedule to get a reading with me. I don't mind. Now, With the north and south node, understand that the north node is fated, okay? And fate is not something that has to be. What it is that a catalyst is manifest to you through fate, and that catalyst is opportunity for you to take the vibration of your heart soul urge number, okay, and create destiny from that fated experience, okay? Your north node is where you feel vulnerable, a little uncomfortable. I'm not used to this. It's like walking a plank without handrails, okay? That's how you know you're growing, okay? This reminds us that being uncomfortable and being vulnerable for the right reasons is very healthy for us, okay? We got to stay vulnerable if we're going to grow towards our own purpose and destiny, that is, not just out here wilding. You understand? So let me make that clear as well. Thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Share this video with someone who you think might need the information or who could benefit from it.